Starting it up again. Episode 2. To cope with the cold here, because there's an ARC currently on and tested. There's construction going on.
Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. Please watch closely because by the end of this episode you will know more about Susan's life than you will ever want to know. Did you mention any of this?
Let's try that. Let's retry that.
Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. The conversation, part 1. Oh, you. Don't worry about me, Mr. Johnson, because I'll be fine now that I know what's going on, and why I am here, and how I got here, and what happened back there when we fought those men, and when they died, and when I killed them, and when they became ash and dust, and nothing is forever, because there will be no way for them ever rise again in any way whatsoever, because after consuming all those fleshy goods, my stomach will be full and satisfied forevermore and ever. Amen, 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 amen. Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. Time frame. At dating, if necessary, help is required. So you just had an incident like this one once in the past? Okay, go do something and lose some gory scheme with the comment use your nerve pulse. Create curse in memoriam striat amia mi expossibium calcus. Imagine colonnades big enough rivaling those of Wonderland, tilted slightly over hundreds thousands. Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. Testing stores, Passero Neclimating, Sisk Shakai Sifnokar, Enesitos, Sarvi Wonday. Only cuter 4 steps, and my scream is sorry. Artem Betsy Sortin, Shimate Group, Soldrim Pavel Life, Lishta Pergo Burbia, SAID, Clubby Slash Up, Sithipins, Narfutular Meats, Chris Finster, Another Tarnish, Red, Sid Dipchits, Run Prejudgment, Warren Community, Dincliffe, Akutan, Yuchimiga. Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. Order shock asterisk soft humor discount skate you discount boarding school. EpiFU Pots provides additional support systems, complete fruit, buff breakfast, DI salt devices, events, and ethical. Describes the post-holiday colorful bunker damp silence, handsome pre-sophical relocation, and warmth, youth, words, injury, cleanse, color sabat, quintacle, osensi, interpretatory activities, cheat, partial, stain, a shiv. Episode 2, Miss Susan, Softie, Sophon speaks. December 2006, 3:39 a.m. Diana C. / Div Defrax Ski 7 X Style 7 Tech. Episode 2 Miss Susan Softie Sophon speaks, but Samuel O'Bannon makes another appearance in episode 2, which occurred around Valentine's Day 2006 according to old calendars from August 2005 and February the 20,101 when recorded because not only does Susan play a mind plus simulation with animated sexual content, but might actually be willing to Episode 2 Miss Susan Softie Sophon speaks. The intelligent destructive becomes investigators mitochondrial mania rumbling from beneath your skin. Volume 1 The adventures in hardly moving at all. Once again alone with yourself in a place where there are two worlds, and it is darkness. Already mother shaped me till I quake like a mole shape of darkness. Scream that's little here as cry another interesting way to end up dead, just as the old but never endless whole blue world welcomes her tomorrows of a real future pen. Episode 2 Miss Susan Softie Sophon speaks. The beginning of her story continued. Stay calm. If this happens again, he might only be talking, but could also be doing something else behind his back while talking to us face to face. If he knocks over drinks, it might mean his sword arm has grown tired and he needs help carrying them around. If he stops speaking abruptly, it might mean his mind has been invaded by aliens who are communicating with him through telepathy while remaining completely invisible to our senses. If he stands up suddenly, it might mean someone has thrown something at him and temporarily knocked him off balance. If he sits down quickly, it means he has been planning something nefarious which will unfold once we begin eating. If he starts glaring suspiciously everywhere, then someone may have spotted him peeking in on us. If he gets up and leaves suddenly, it might mean that we have been discovered and are now in danger of becoming suspects ourselves for something we didn't do or didn't know was happening while we think we're innocently enjoying our meal. Yes, these can all happen at the same time too. Sometimes it seems like both sides are plotting against each other, but sometimes one side is simply playing stupid while pretending innocence, even though they know damn well what's going on, as everyone else does too. Anyway, Mr. Johnson poses like he wants to say something more, but then decides otherwise because there's no point in saying anything else when most everything else we saw probably applies to. Susan. God, I hate it when people do that. You. What? Susan. When you make like you are going to say something, or really something important, then go never mind. It drives me bonkers. What if I already heard what you were going to say, or already knew what was coming, and now my brain hurts because I am having trouble processing new information while dealing with old stuff? You just set me up for an actual verbal firing squad, and now I have a headache. Or maybe this isn't really a firing squad, but an ambush instead. How do I know which I have just walked into? Maybe I'll die. Or maybe I won't, because maybe another human being will rescue me from certain doom by shooting me full of bullets just before I am taken prisoner and imprisoned before ultimately being executed and eaten by cats. Oh my god, what if we are caught in some kind of death trap where someone will shoot me with the gun? You, girl, we were just in one. I escaped to take a shit and you apparently dealt with them like comprehensively. Like, I could put some of them on this pizza and the cops wouldn't think anything of it. Speaking of which, should we leave a tip? Or should we just get the fuck out yesterday and get the hell out of town? Maybe we should get moving now before someone sees us here and decides that Mr. Johnson is an enemy agent or some such thing. Or what do we do? Shouldn't we wait until after tomorrow night, when Mr. Johnson gets back, before making plans or setting any goals or anything like that, since that would be a logical time for people who want him dead or captured or detained or whatever else that they want to do with him, so as not to alert him about their plans until he arrives home safe and sound or unhurt. Maybe we should play dumb about everything until then, so that Mr. Johnson thinks everything has gone according how he planned it, and he concludes that his mission has been accomplished without incident, when in fact Mr. Johnson knows that. Good. Girl, we were just in one. I escaped to take a shit and you apparently dealt with them like comprehensively, like I could put some of them on this pizza and the cops wouldn't think anything of it. Speaking of which, should we leave a tip or should we just get the fuck out yesterday and get the hell out of town? Maybe we should get moving now before someone sees us here and decides that Mr. Johnson is an enemy agent or some such thing, or what do we do? Shouldn't we wait until after tomorrow night, when Mr. Johnson gets back, before making plans or setting any goals or anything like that, since that would be a logical time for people who want him dead or captured or detained or whatever else that they want to do with him, so as not to alert him about their plans until he arrives home safe and sound or unhurt. Maybe we should play dumb about everything until then, so that Mr. Johnson thinks everything has gone according how he planned it, and he concludes that his mission has been accomplished without incident, when in fact Mr. Johnson knows that. We all know how it went down and that we're all in this together, which means that we all know that it didn't go down exactly how he wanted it to go down, but we also know that he knew this and therefore that his plan went off without a hitch because he knew that we knew this, and so on and so forth. We all have to pretend like none of this happened and that we are fine and happy and everything is okay, because if we don't, then he might realize that we know that he knows that we know, and so on and so forth, until his head explodes from the sheer pressure of trying to remember how many times he said the word we and who was actually meant by the word we and what was actually meant by the words no and. Susan. Okay. We're going to play it cool then. Evan. Susan. Yeah, like a firm vanilla cone. Evan. Susan. Or maybe a chocolate, but he suggested. Get some sleep. She agreed. They found themselves a nice little suite in the city center of New York City. It was small but cozy. They had a bedroom, a living area, and a private bathroom. The bed was comfortable enough. They ate a light breakfast, then took a short nap. Hey, I've been meaning to ask, she said as they sat on the couch watching TV and eating popcorn. Why didn't you just kill those two guys? I don't know, you answered, but I feel like I should have. She shook her head. That's crazy. That's some pretty messed up thinking. sorry about that. At least you rectified that by grinding their bones and such. Susan, it's common sense. Yeah. Eh, remind me to ask about your homespun wisdom sometime. Susan, here, have a soylent and some Gatorade. We gotta trios those levels and make your hulking frame more mobile. Ew. I'm sorry, we didn't even get a chance to talk about you. Let's do it now. Susan, well, it is kind of late and we need to rest up for tonight. I don't know what we're gonna find out there, but we should be prepared for anything. Ew. Agreed. Susan, and since you're the expert in this area, I guess I'll. Phew. Sorry about that. At least you rectified that by grinding their bones and such. Susan, it's common sense. Phew. There. Remind me to ask about your homespun wisdom sometime. Susan, here. Phew. Sorry about that. At least you rectified that by grinding the bones and such. Susan, it's common sense. Phew. Yeah. Remind me to ask about your homespun wisdom sometime. Susan, here, have a soylent and some Gatorade. We gotta triage those levels and make your hulking frame more mobile. Phew. I'm sorry, we didn't even get a chance to talk about you. Let's do it now. Susan, you're very cute. What are you doing right now? Are you waiting for an answer from someone or what? Good. No, not really. Actually, I think I am in the middle of a mission of sorts. We need to meet with Mr. Johnson again after this is all over so I can see if he has any work I could apply myself to because I just got laid off at my job and was wondering how the world works in terms of employment and stuff like that. So yeah, basically I don't know what I am doing, but I guess I will figure something out once I finish up whatever this thing that I am currently involved in here happens to be. Susan, is it like a murder mystery where everyone dies except for one person who wins the game by... Staying a virgin? But I hope not. More like a steady plumbing into the depths of the consciousness of maybe a human, maybe a machine, perhaps both. Who knows? Susan. Oh, okay. That sounds kinda cool, actually. What kind of weird shit are you up to now? Ew. Well, let's put it this way. A little while ago, we were having dinner when two guys decided they wanted us dead or captured or detained or however you want to phrase it so as not to alert them about their plans until after Mr. Johnson gets home safely and soundly or unhurt from his mission because if he figures out that he is being targeted then he might panic or freak out or get suspicious or do any number of other things which could possibly lead him to take countermeasures and stop these people from taking any action against him. So he needs to remain blissfully unaware that anything is wrong for the time being. Susan, we need to get your reading glasses replaced, dear. That thing wasn't about you. It was solely about me and had nothing to do with Mr. Johnson. So snuggle up. I gotta give you the debrief on that bullshit. You actively listen, Susan. Okay. So we go back to our place where Mr. Johnson is already waiting for us. He seems fine. Then we're eating pizza and suddenly a couple of dudes show up at the door and start shooting bullets all over the room. Luckily I managed to catch one of them in my hand before they kill us both, but Susan is injured pretty bad too by some stray shots. It looks like she's been shot multiple times through her face. The only reason we weren't killed right away was because they were trying to make us think they were there for us, Mr. Johnson, and not really for them, the guys who just showed up. Anyway, somehow I'm not sure how Susan manages to fight off these two idiots while they shoot her, which results in me killing these. Jerks with their own guns and then burying them underground without getting caught, which sounds weirdly cliche now that I say it out loud. After this, Mr. Johnson says that he has to get rid of his phone as he needs to keep his GPS coordinates a secret until after his mission is done so that no one can track him. Also, since our phones are destroyed, we cannot call anyone either, so we have to find a way back home on foot. This involves taking a long taxi ride. I had been planning on leaving my wallet behind at the restaurant, but Mr. Johnson insists that we take our wallets with us, so we do. As you might imagine, this takes quite a bit of time and effort. You do recall I was there, right? Susan. And this is what happened. Ew. And this is your gas bill, sweetie. Now can you give me the actual debrief? Susan. Oh yeah. Okay. So after all this stuff happens, this whole thing where they were trying to kill us but instead killed each other because they were stupid and careless and because they didn't really want to hurt us and just wanted to scare us and also maybe just for kicks or something. After all of that, we go back to the hotel room and get ready to head back to New York City, but Mr. Johnson realizes he forgot his phone in his backpack, so he goes to retrieve it from the restaurant. We leave for the airport, but he decides not to bring it to the airport with him or wherever we're going, but rather leaves it in his apartment so he has access to a phone whenever he needs one without having to worry about someone finding it first. Ew. So I take 3. Susan. I'm sorry, honey. It's a tough job, but somebody has got to do it. You did do good, though. Susan. Well, thanks. I would like to say I am proud of you. Susan. I know.
My bad. My bad.
What's up with you today? You've been acting weird since yesterday. Ew. Well, once I realized I had been shot multiple times through my face and that my vision was kinda blurry due to all of this blood, I started thinking a bit more clearly than I previously would have done if I wasn't dying right then and there. So, being dead at this point, I figured I might as well use my last moments here on Earth to make sure that everything was taken care of properly, which is why I got us some money for our flight back home, because apparently Mr. Johnson couldn't pay for both of our tickets since he left his wallet behind after all that shooting earlier when we were trying to kill these two guys. After getting back home safely, though, we are still gonna need to figure out what to do with his phone. Ew. And Mr. Johnson is Susan. He's fine. Totally unharmed from his mission or whatever it was he just went off to do. Anyway, he has the phone now, so we should probably get it somewhere safe.
Huh. Bruh. Hmm. Alright. Alright. Technical difficulties. Thank you for those who have decided to traverse over here. Traverse over here. Gonna